So I just wanted to put together a quick demo for this project I put together for the HealthBot patient education. So I kind of went a little further than I guess normally you would for this project, and instead of just having a Jupyter notebook, I went ahead and kind of created a full application. So basically, what you can see is we're going to host it on an S3 bucket. We then authenticate with Cognito, which is a pretty cool little AWS service for authentication. Then the browser is going to use those tokens and such to authenticate to a API gateway endpoint, which will trigger a Lambda, and then that's where all of our workflow logic is running. We also, with the Lambda, we're kind of saving state with a DynamoDB checkpointer, and that makes our workflow a little unique because it sort of almost has to be stateless and checkpoint on every interruption of the workflow. And then from the front end, we then have to pick up a session ID, and then on each subsequent request, then include that session ID, and then we use that to load up the most recent session, and then continue the chat. So yeah, I'll leave some of the other technical pieces just for the README. It also has a full CI/CD pipeline where we can deploy the whole thing via GitHub Actions. So that's pretty neat. It's really not too much setup on the user's end. You just have to have an AWS account. Just set up this bot, and then attach some of these managed policies along with this one additional inline policy. And then setting up your GitHub account with certain keys and secrets, so that on the deploy actions we're able to insert those into Secret Manager or wherever they need to be. But I've actually already deployed, so we'll go ahead and go to our application. So we've got a pretty basic little login flow here. If you already have a account, you can just sign in. But for the purpose of this demo, I want to go ahead and show how that works. So we're just going to kind of generate a random email here. We are going to pick account. Oops. See if I can get a brand new one. Okay, let's do this in incognito so we can get a new password. Let's go do this the hard way. All right, we're gonna use this email. Okay, so then it sends us a verification code. This other stuff is just because it's just a prototype, so I don't have it SSL figured out here. Okay, so put in the verification code. There we go. We're now verified, and that creates a Cognito user in the user pool. Sign in. Login successful, and here we are. So this is the actual interface, just kind of like a basic chat interface. But what was cool about this project was actually setting up all the different stuff for an interface other than just a chat to work with our workflows. So we're just going to go ahead and put in this prompt. It's just asking us to, what health topic do we want to talk about. This is one I had queued up. So this is hitting the API gateway endpoint. It's then, since we're sending our first request, sending it without a session ID. And the back end is then generating a session ID and then starting the initial workflow, which is to search for atrial fibrillation with a couple of restricted domains, and then generate a summary. So we've got all this stuff here. Nice, good amount of information about AFib, which is cool. Then it's going to ask us if we want to go ahead and test our understanding. So we're going to go ahead and say yes. Okay. So what's neat about this is that we have our workflow set up to then go to the next step, and it's basically returning a JSON object of a quiz that our front end specifically can understand. So these are, it's, let's see, what's common symptoms of AFib. I could read this whole thing, and I probably should, but for the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to go ahead and say palpitations. And that's going to go ahead and send answer A back to the LLM. The LLM is going to go ahead and evaluate if that is the correct answer or not and return something back to me. Awesome. I guessed right there. I've done this a couple times, so that makes sense. So that's cool. Well, we want to go ahead and then restart the session. We can do this two different ways the way I have it set up. I think both ways it's basically going to either give us another message saying that, do you want to answer the question, or it's like going to say, oh, let's start a new session. So let's just end our session. And what this basically does is, from the front end perspective, we just clear out the session ID, and you can just ask another question. So let's say, my pinky toe hurts. So this is a brand new session, just like we had kind of all the way in the beginning here. But in our DynamoDB, it's a brand new instance, basically. Okay, pinky toe pain. Here's all the stuff about pinky toe pain. Yeah, and we can go ahead and just say, no, we don't want to go ahead and do our test. So then we just start a new session again. Yeah, and that's the kind of like live demo of the project itself. So yeah, it's pretty neat. I was able to kind of build out this whole little application, and specifically what I found most interesting, like I said, was these interactions with the buttons, and sending specific messages back and then routing it to particular nodes based on those predefined inputs that we were going to be sending. All right, thank you very much.